Welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple, the podcast for moms who want to go from chaos to calm, from overwhelmed to organized, and to find balance between family responsibilities and personal growth. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen. Let's make mom life simple. Hello and welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, kicking off the May Self-Care Challenge. So in May, we are working on being more intentional with our screen time. So likely for most of us, that's going to mean less time on our screens. It's going to mean being more intentional and more thoughtful about the time that we do spend on our screens. Now, I'm using the word screens really intentionally because there are a lot of different screens in our lives. We have computers, we have phones, we have TVs. Maybe there are other screens in your life, your watch, your smartwatch, other places that you may find yourself on your screen. And what I want for this challenge is to really be a lot more aware of the time that you're spending on your screen, of what that's doing for you or to you, and how you really feel about it. Now, let's talk first about some of the problems and some of the concerns with screen time. Now, I want to start off by saying we all like screens. There are lots of good things we enjoy. I think most of us can say we enjoy watching a good show or movie. All of the, advantages technology brings. And yet I think most of us can also see that there's a problem, especially if you have kids. It's really easy to see this problem in your kids, right? Being on the screen too much. There's a concern a lot of us have when maybe we're on social media and we catch ourselves just mindlessly scrolling, really not being present. And that's one of the things that we want to focus on in this challenge is being more present, so that we can be more intentional with our screen time and not just do it as a habit. Now, let me start going through, like I usually do on these self-care challenges, going through some of the concerns, some of the problems with excess screen time. So a study showed that these are some pretty common problems with being on screens too much. Too much screen time can lead to health issues such as obesity, heart health. Being sedentary leads to many problems, and screens lead to being sedentary. Sleep issues. We don't sleep as well when we're on screens. We've talked about this when we talked about getting more sleep. We talked about the fact that screens give off blue light, which messes with our circadian rhythm, which keeps us up at night instead of falling into a deeper sleep. So our screens can keep us from getting the rest that our bodies need. Screens, and this one is particularly relevant to our phones, but neck and back pain. It's also relevant to computers. If you find yourself sitting a lot in the day, it can lead to back pain. If you find yourself looking down, looking at your phone, we can all picture it. Picture a teenager looking at their phone, that kind of head hunched forward position. Our heads weigh about 8 pounds, generally speaking. And when you lean your head forward, when your head is not in alignment with your neck, properly holding up your head right on top, that puts a lot of pressure on your upper back muscles to hold up your head. And so leaning forward to look at your phone in that position can really cause a lot of neck and back strain. Being on screens too much can cause vision problems, eyes getting tired, blurry, feeling like old eyes. I'm feeling that one lately myself. Too much screen time can cause learning concerns in children, but in adults, it can cause problems with attention. And I think we see this so clearly. Our attention span has shortened very much. It can be really hard to sit and listen for any length of time. And it's because we've gotten so used to the quick soundbite, the quick Instagram story, the quick video on Facebook or wherever. To sit and listen for a long time can be really hard, and our screens play a big role in that. Screen time also can lessen self-confidence. This was one that was highlighted in a paper I read about children, but I think that it's really relevant to adults. It said that children can have less self-confidence when they're on screens more, because being on screens more means that they're watching other people do stuff and they have less time to create. And I think that is so relevant for everyone. We are all creators. We are meant to create things. Create a beautiful dinner, create a special memory with your family, create something, a podcast, a business, a book, a whatever. We are creators. We are creating each day and we are creating moments. But when we are sitting on our screens, we are watching what other people have created and we're stepping out of the creation game. And that is a really powerful one that I don't think we give a lot of time and attention to. We know, being on screens, it's probably not the best, but we often don't think about that as a reason why. And that's a really powerful one to pay attention to. Another thing that is so relevant is depression and anxiety. Too much screen time really leads to depression and anxiety. And I think that that's strongly linked to what I was just saying. If you are not creating in your life, if you're not going out there and doing as many things as you have the potential to do, and instead you're watching others do those lead to depression and anxiety. Another thing that we see with the anxiety piece is this constant, it goes back to the attention piece. I feel like the attention and anxiety are linked because we're constantly on alert, like, I need to look, I need to check, I got to check my phone. And that leads to anxiety, whether it's low-level anxiety or pretty severe anxiety. I heard a study and I didn't note this one. I don't have the reference for you, but it showed that depression and anxiety have increased at the same timeline that smartphones have come into existence. And it's really interesting to think about as we have started giving so much of our time and attention to screens, our mental health has gotten way worse. There is a strong link between the two of those. So if those are things that you struggle with, whether it's clinical depression and clinical anxiety or low-grade depression and low-grade anxiety, being more intentional with your screen time is really something to pay attention to. And finally, the last problem that I want to point out is that too much screen time is addictive. And there's a video that I watched with my kids a long time ago. I thought it was so good and I made all of them watch it. We've watched it multiple times. It talks about the idea that our brains get addicted to a certain level of dopamine. So and dopamine, what dopamine is, it's a chemical in our brain that is the pleasure chemical. When something happens that's good, whether we get dopamine all day long, even from taking a drink of water, you get a teeny little bit of dopamine. But our phones in particular give us a large amount of dopamine, and we get used to this higher amount of dopamine. What that means is that we always want that next hit. We want that next little, hit of dopamine into our systems. And so we're looking at our phone. Did I get an email? Did I get a Facebook notification? Did I get something on Instagram? What's going on? Is there a new story? That compulsion to check those things comes from that dopamine link in our brain. And we have elevated that to need a higher level of dopamine. Now, being more intentional with our screen time will lower that dopamine to a much more natural and helpful level so that we can get off our screens and enjoy being off our screens a little bit more. And we'll talk about how as we go through this podcast. So, intentional with screen time is something that if you have kids of a certain age, you're probably very aware of this problem and probably having conversations with your kids about this a lot. And the best way that we can help our kids to be more mindful with their screen time is to be more mindful with our own screen time. One of the best ways to do this is what Cal Newport calls digital sunrise and digital sunset. This is from his book, Digital Minimalism. And I love this idea because you guys know I love morning routines. I think they're super valuable and super important. Digital sunrise is the idea of when you first get up, not getting on your screen, having a period of time after you wake up where you stay off your screen. And digital sunset is the same thing in reverse, right? It's a period of time before you go to bed that you stay off your screen. Now let's start with the evening first. If you have a digital sunset, if you put your phone away an hour before you go to bed and you keep your phone in another room so that you're not tempted, what will happen? Well, you'll be off the screen, so you'll have better sleep because we've talked about that link, right? If you're on the screen too close to bedtime, it throws off your rhythms. You'll also probably be able to wind down a little bit better and get ready for sleep a little bit more mentally, physically, because you're not staying amped up and tuned in, right, to your screen. So then you'll get better sleep. Then in the morning, if you do some other things first before getting on your phone, you are reducing that need for that dopamine hit. And I will say it might be hard at the beginning because we're very, very used to checking in. In fact, studies show that about 71% of people are first thing when they wake up in the morning, they are checking their phone. So if you're doing that, you're not alone. That's very common. But we want to give ourselves a little bit of space in the morning to have this digital sunrise and digital sunset where we have a period of time free from our phones. If that appeals to you, I encourage you to start there. That's a great way to start. And if you're using your phone right now as an alarm to wake up, I encourage you to use something else so that your phone isn't even in your room. If you have your phone right by your bedside table, if you have it right there on your bedside table and you're using it to wake up, it's going to be very, very hard to break that habit of checking your phone first thing in the morning. It'll also be hard at night to put your phone away. Just leave it in the other room and come in to bed, and then it will help you to be able to have your own digital sunset and digital sunrise. Now, your phone itself can also help you to stick to some new rules and to help you be more intentional with your screen time. One of the things that I've done is I've taken Facebook off my phone. I don't even enjoy it that much. That's not even the right word. But sometimes I check Facebook. I check it too much. And I found that in those moments when I would have otherwise been bored, it was easy to just pull up Facebook. Now, it's really an interesting thing. How often are you letting yourself be bored? In our society, so few of us are bored. Boredom is gold, you guys. Boredom is so important. Let your mind wander and see what comes up. Like, be bored. Now, as moms, we're not often very bored, right? But when we're sitting there, even in line at the grocery store, or we're waiting for our kids at soccer practice to come and be picked up, are we just sitting there looking around? Are we looking at other people? Are we paying, just like looking at our surroundings, sort of a grocery store meditation or a soccer pickup meditation where we're being present? Or are we immediately turning to our phones? I would say, based on what I see other people doing, most of us are turning to our phones in that moment instead of letting ourselves have some actual downtime. And I'm guilty of this myself. Too often, I am picking up my phone to look at it to see what? Nothing. It's not like I'm even looking at it for any good reason. It is a habit. And it's a habit that we need to work on breaking and being more intentional about, which brings me to my next thought, which is every time you pick up your phone, ask yourself, you can even make this your screensaver if this is what you want to work on for the month. Ask yourself, why did I pick up my phone? Because what I notice so often is that I will pick up my phone, turn it on, scroll through the apps, maybe click on this app or that app, kind of see if there's anything new, and then put it down. And I wonder, why did I do that? And I've started something where I ask myself as I pick up my phone, Why am I picking up my phone right now? What do I need to do on my phone? And if the answer is nothing, I don't actually need my phone right now, then I'm working on getting better at turning it off and putting it away. Because if I'm just scrolling to see if there's anything to see, there are better things to see in the real world than on that device. So ask that question to yourself. Why am I picking up my phone right now? And pay attention to the answer. Does that mean that we're going to always turn it off? No. Sometimes we're saying, okay, why am I picking up my phone right now? I'm picking up my phone right now because I have been sitting in the car for a while. I'm kind of bored. I have 15 minutes, and now would be a good time for me to check up on my Instagram, and that's what I want to do. I'm not saying that that's always going to, that's never the answer. I'm on Instagram. I actually have it on my phone, and I just want to be very intentional with the time that I'm on it versus mindlessly scrolling. Hopefully that makes sense. Another way to use our phone to help us be more intentional is to set timers. I have time limits on certain apps on my phone. Social media apps where I can only spend a certain amount of time, and then it will pop up and say, hey, your time limit is done. You're done for the day. On my phone, I've also set up digital sunrise and digital sunset. So if I go on my phone before a certain time or after a certain time, my phone will remind me, hey, your time is up for today. You don't have time right now. And it's really helpful to have your phone feel like it's on your side and helping you to be more intentional with your screen time. You can always override it if there's an emergency, if there's a reason you need to be on your phone, but it just helps with that intentionality piece that we're going for. Lastly, tracking your screen time will help you to be really aware. So your phone can do this for you. At least iPhones can. I don't know about you Android users, but it probably does the same thing. But you can also check your non-phone screen time by just doing a simple paper and pen and writing down, okay, I was on a screen here. I was on the screen here. I watched TV. I was on the computer. Paying attention and tracking over time when you're on screens and what you're doing on screens. Because the more that we're aware of what we're doing, the more that we can see where we have room to improve. So, additionally, I want to go back to, I had asked the question when you're on your phone, why am I going on a screen? The other thing that you can ask when you get that answer is, does that, whatever that answer is, okay, why am I going on a screen? I'm going on a screen to go on Instagram. Well, does that support what I want? So as you go through this month, however you choose to implement this challenge of being more intentional about screen time, ask yourself those questions. So even if it's sitting down at night and you turn on the TV, why am I going on a screen? Well, I'm going on a screen because my husband and I want to watch a show. Does that support what I want? Yeah, it supports what I want because I want to sit here and snuggle with my husband and have a little downtime. Going next level, in that example, you could say, well, does it support what I want to watch 2 episodes of this show? Maybe, but maybe that's less supportive because now we have less time to talk and we want to turn this off and spend some quality time together. Really being intentional is the point here. So choose one way this month to be more intentional with your screen time. Find something that works for you. Keep it small. Small habits really are what help to solidify and help us to make improvements. So it doesn't need to be something really big, but take a good long look at your own screen time and figure out where there's room for improvement. And then I would love to hear about it. Visit on social media, come over and tell us how you're doing with the challenge at Chanel Nielsen Coaching on Instagram or Facebook. And be really intentional when you're there, right? Pop on so that you can tell us. Maybe you take a couple minutes to look and then pop off. So I am curious to know how this goes for you. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Mom's Life Made Simple. I'm so glad that you're here, and I want you to join us for the 2023 Self-Care Challenge. Each month, we will be diving into a different area of simple self care, learning how to create habits that allow you to make time for yourself. So, to join the challenge, go to chanelnielsen.com/self care 2023. When you join, you'll get access to free downloads that help you to create and track your new habits, as well as a link to the community. I'm so excited for you to make self care part of your year in 2023.